Rimso spoke gently. Actually, I greatly admire Soakyu's personality. We will soon collaborate. Uncle, there's no need to be so strict. Soakyu. With a cold gaze, she thought to herself, I suspect this guy was the one who caused the rift between me and Jin Juan at the last car exhibition. Now he's using the excuse of collaborating with our company to invite my father for dinner. It's really uncomfortable to look at his face. Rimso, with a polite demeanor, stood up and said, Miss Soyaku, I prepared a short program for you. I hope you like it. I heard that you also enjoy the piano. What a coincidence, I've been learning to play for a few years as well. He then moved to the nearby piano, sat down, and began to play with dramatic gestures. He posed like a professional, starting to play music. He thought, with my superb flirting skills, I don't believe you won't be tempted by my appearance and talent. Yakyu thought, what kind of nonsense can Rimso play? It's worlds apart from Jin Juan. Listening to him, there's no emotion at all. He thinks he can play and sing like Jin Juan. It's really insulting to the listeners. On the other side, Yuling was also watching Jin Juan. After the live broadcast, tears began to fall uncontrollably. She couldn't hold back her emotions and wondered, why? Why can someone who is clearly a jerk play and sing music that touches my heart so deeply? Jin Juan seemed like a bright moon illuminating a dark sky, extremely captivating. At this moment, Yuling affection rating increased by 30, now totaling 35 points. A few minutes later, in the limousine of Rim Jirak, the secretary reported, Miss, we have acquired a large amount of land around Chiamen. According to the plan, everything is going as expected, but currently, the compensation for land purchase is a bit too generous. I'm concerned about our funding. She held the financial report in her hand and said, don't worry about the capital. Just continue the acquisitions. Jirak thought about how Yuling had acquired a large amount of land in Chiamen. He could only counter her strategy by starting with the surrounding areas. He imagined that the triangle formed by 3 cities would be the best location for the film and television city. Thus, the previous news about building a film and television city in Chiamen was merely a smokescreen created by Jin Juan. Therefore, the only person Jin Juan trusted to handle this was him. Rim Jirak was so furious that he could almost spit fire, wishing he could personally deal with Yuling Shuang. He thought, Ling Shuang, if you rise to the skies, I'll hide underground. As long as my feet touch the ground, you'd better wait for my punishment. You're just a Dan spy. The sisterhood we once had is now just a thing of the past. It seemed that Rim Jirak's heart now only had room for Jin Juan. Suddenly, a notification sound came through. You have received a message from Wang Mom. He wondered why Mom was still awake at such a late hour. Mom's message simply said, quick, join the live broadcast on Daimao TV to watch Jin Juan's performance. Confused, Jirak thought, a performance? Jin Juan, who used to be so godlike and lonely, is now a streamer? Will anyone even watch him? He clicked on the link Mom had sent. He saw Jin Juan wearing a somewhat childish hat and felt a bit speechless. As Jin Juan sang, Jirak was once again surprised. The lyrics made him understand Jin Juan better. Jin Juan, I understand now. You don't need to say more. Love has faded and dreams have dimmed. Jirak couldn't help but admire Jin Juan's remarkable voice. The more he thought about it, the more he was captivated and amazed. Jin Juan's singing was truly enchanting, and spending time with him made Jirak realize that Jin Juan had been trapped by money. He didn't expect such talent. If not utilized, the country would lose a great musical talent. The system then announced, Rim Jirak's affection has increased by 1. Current affection level is 96 points. Congratulations, you've successfully counterattacked Rim Jirak. You are awarded 10 attribute enhancement points. Scene change to Daimao TV Company. Jin Juan had just finished his performance and was reviewing the system with great pleasure. He thought to himself that tonight, he had gained quite a bit of affection from the admirers. The audience below the stage felt a pang of regret as they watched him leave. A male student shouted, Why are you leaving, brother? Stay with us. Don't go, take off your mask and show us your face. The young girls were utterly captivated. One of them exclaimed, That brother is so cold-hearted, but he's exactly my type. A few days later, At the Beachian Real Estate Company, the secretary rushed in, flustered, to report, "Madam, someone is trying to seize our land. The opposing party seems to have significant backing and is competing with us. Moreover, they have quietly convinced many people." After Yuling Xuan's accident and hospitalization, she continued working diligently, although her business attire seemed a bit off. Ling Xuan thought, seizing land? It seems Liso is starting to act. She looked at her employee, who was disheartened and weary, and felt a pang of sympathy. She thought, if Liso's plan succeeds, the entire Bichian real estate will be destroyed, and these people will become failures. She spoke to her employee, "I understand. You can go outside now. I will contact Jin Juan to see if there is any solution." She thought, "I'll do my best to change the fate so there will be no regrets." She dialed Jin Juan's number, but received the voice of another woman. "The number you have dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later." It was the operator's voice. She felt a bit anxious. Has Jin Juan turned off his phone at such a critical time? Is he running away? At Kimyu Building, in the Daemao TV headquarters office, employees were taking advantage of their lunch break to chat. "Have you heard? It seems like our company is about to go bankrupt." The girl in the blue dress replied, "No way. Isn't this company just gaining popularity online a few days ago?" The girl with purple hair said, "You don't seem to know the inside scoop. I heard that backstage support for our company used to be from Mr. Yen, but he hasn't shown up online for a while." She excitedly added, "Some people are guessing that Mr. Yen might have forgotten about our company. But according to news my uncle received, Mr. Yen's capital chain might be broken." The girl next to her was shocked and exclaimed, "Really? Mr. Yen is so wealthy. How could his capital chain be broken? Is this news reliable? How could someone as rich as Mr. Yen have a broken capital chain?" "Believe me, it's absolutely true," said Sim Chokuai. Meanwhile, outside, people were busy working, but the employees had time to gossip. Sim Chokuai, though, felt a bit worried and thought, "The capital chain of Mr. Yen is broken." Later, at the office of CEO Joki, she could hardly believe the news. "No way. I know Jin Juan's capabilities. Even if I were to break, Mr. Yen's capital chain wouldn't break." Sim Kokue anxiously responded, "But the news outside seems quite credible. Check if it's true. Call Jin Juan to confirm." Aki pondered. "Jin Juan hasn't shown up for days. I thought with his personality, he would definitely come back to make hundreds of millions for fun. After all, it's his business. Could he really be in trouble?" As the news spread, people talked about it, passing it from one person to another. Before long, everyone in Hanseong knew about it. They discussed it everywhere, from meals to work. "Did you hear? It seems the capital chain of the great Mr. Yen is broken." "Is that so? I heard the capital chain of Mr. Yen is broken." Serves him right. Everyone knew that too much bragging would lead to trouble. In a luxurious villa, which Jin Juan had asked his beautiful and talented secretary to purchase, Soeakyu heard the news and called to inquire whether it was true that Jin Juan was facing difficulties due to a broken capital chain. Jin Juan was sunbathing when he exclaimed, "Soeakyu, where did you get this news from?" Yakyu replied seriously, "Don't worry about where I heard it from. If you're really in trouble, I'll just sell the building. I will always stand by you. That's why the old saying goes, a harmonious couple can even drain the Eastern Sea." Jin Juan laughed upon hearing this. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Jin Juan then said seriously, "I'm actually not facing any difficulties at all. The only difficulty for me is having too much money. Money just seems to multiply no matter how much I spend." Now you understand why Jin Juan's wealth keeps increasing, right? Originally, Jin Juan's money was listed as 90 billion by the system. The more he spent, the more it increased. Jin Juan hung up the phone and sighed, saying, "I'm just sunbathing, yet the outside world is in chaos. What's going on?" Meanwhile, at Yakyu's villa, after finishing her call with Jin Juan, her mother asked, "So, what did he say?" Yakyu replied, "He's still being evasive. I plan to sell Kimyu to help Jin Juan." Her mother, slightly displeased, scolded, "No, that won't do. Have you ever thought that while Kimyu is priceless to us, to Jin Juan, it's like losing a single hair from 9 oxen? If he really needed money, that amount would be just a drop in the bucket. It's like a pinch of salt thrown into the ocean. Yaku responded, "That's true." Her mother added, "Furthermore, are you sure this isn't a trick? He might be pretending to be weak to draw sympathy." Your rashness almost ruined Jin Juan's plans. Jin Juan remains calm, leisurely enjoying his candy and ignoring the world, truly like a king. Aki, determined, called, "Hello, Jin Juan. Are you really having financial difficulties? I can pool some money for you. If you need more, I'm willing to sell Daimao TV to help you raise funds." Meng Meng, standing behind, was unknowingly worried about Jin Juan. She whispered to Aki, asking if the news was true. Go Jianium, also worried, said, "Jin Juan, are you really having trouble with your finances? Just tell us a number, we can help." Jin Bingseal, upon hearing the news, also called, "Jin Juan, if you're in trouble, why didn't you come to me? Do you think I'm just a bystander?" At Jin Juan's villa, he was continuously called by the women, making him exclaim, "Oh, really, I'm fine." The cries of distress echoed throughout the villa. Although they meant well, they didn't believe him. Despite his reassurances, they still doubted him. Jin Juan was exhausted, feeling as though he was hanging on by a thread, with nothing left to regret in life. He wearily said, "I'm not having any financial difficulties. I just bought a new villa. I appreciate the concern, but please, it's unnecessary." Looking at the call history, Jin Bingseal, Jonium, Juki, Suarcrack, and Sudmuk had all called. He was confused about why everyone was calling today. Curious, he wondered who was spreading rumors about his financial situation. He lay back down with a satisfied smile, thinking about how his life had turned around. In the past, he used to spend money on women, but now it was the women spending money on him. He sat back down, sipping his drink, enjoying his royal demeanor. It seemed his charm was growing stronger, causing people to become captivated and lost. Suddenly, the legendary ringtone played. Night stretches longer with memories from the afternoon, when someone arrives, making you dream. Jin Juan, annoyed by the interruption, jumped up and cursed, "Who is it now?" He said loudly, "Hello, is it free or not? Just say it." Hearing his tone, Rimjirak angrily shouted, "Jin Juan, you're quite something, being so rude to me. Forget it, I won't hold it against you. Just send me your address." Jin Juan, puzzled, replied, "Why do you need my address?" Jirak said, "What do you mean why? I want to give you a big surprise." She then laughed loudly, "Haha, just wait for the surprise, okay?" Hearing Jirak's mischievous laughter, Jin Juan was taken aback and thought, "I have a bad feeling about this." Evening transition. At a villa, Rimso was instructing his subordinates, "Today, we need to be very careful with the reception. No mistakes allowed." He said seriously, "The guests I invited today are high-profile individuals. Liso from the Li family, Sang Hai from Hongsen, and Yeongjum. Make sure everything is perfect." Soon, several luxury cars arrived and parked in front of the villa. The doors began to open, and the powerful Liso stepped out with his entourage of bodyguards. Rimso greeted him, "Liso, you finally arrived. Please come inside." He patted Liso's shoulder and said, "Rimso, you're too polite. We're old acquaintances. How have you been lately?" The two chatted amiably and entered the villa. Just then, a taxi arrived with Yuling Shuang, who had also come. She looked at the scene and thought, "This is the place. Liso specifically told me to come tonight." She ran up and called out loudly, "Liso, sorry I'm late." Suddenly, one of the bodyguards pushed her aside and shouted, "Beggar, get out of the way." The bodyguard, wearing sunglasses at night, was clearly blind to the fact that Yuling Shuang, a beautiful girl, was being mistreated. Yuling Shuang was caught off guard by this unexpected action. She could only let out a surprised "ah." The bodyguards, forming a line, stood with their legs apart and instructed loudly, "Young master, be careful." Yuling Shuang, sitting on the ground, looked very aggrieved and called out, "Young master, it's me, Lin Shuang." Liso, surprised, approached her and helped her up, saying, "Lin Shuang, why did this happen to you? Come on, get up." Just then, Li So's sensitive nose detected an unpleasant smell, and he recoiled in surprise. Li So, covering his nose, said loudly, "Ling Xuan, you haven't bathed in days. You're quite smelly. It's a bit disrespectful to attend such an occasion in this state. It will embarrass me." Hearing this, Yuling Xuan felt somewhat humiliated and was stunned. Li So ordered his bodyguards, "Who else is there? Help Secretary Ling Xuan and bring her over here." Feeling dejected, Yuling Xuan thought to herself, "I've been loyal to you and risked my life to complete the mission, even refraining from bathing for days to avoid infection. Yet you treat me like this. It seems I'm just a dog to you, easily discarded." At this moment, Yuling Xuan's internal resolve began to waver. A while later, in the villa's courtyard, the high-profile guests had arrived and were toasting together. An elderly man in a blue suit spoke. This time, Jin Juan, the so-called Jin Juan, is done for. This man was Da Qianhang, responsible for the Yangjum Investment Bank project. Next to him was Chu Yu, in charge of Hong Kong capital. Li So then spoke slowly. Secretary Ling Xuang explained to these two gentlemen. Ling Xuang replied, "Yes, young master," with a smug expression. She said, "Currently, we have some very important plots of land in key areas of Qianmen City." Chu Yu chuckled and said, "As long as he wants to build a media and entertainment facility, we will restrict it no matter where it is. If he wants to avoid this situation, he'll have to deal with us bleeding him dry." Ling Xuang agreed, "You're absolutely right." Rimso laughed as if bitten by a mad dog and added, "Moreover, I've heard that this kid can't get any funding recently. Ha, now he's in a tough spot." Lisa laughed maniacally, saying, "Greed knows no bounds. Jin Juan has really messed up this time." "Haha, Rimso is right," Lisa said. The entire group laughed together, raising their glasses to celebrate their successful plan to bring Jin Juan down. Rimso, not hiding anything, said, "My sister is still lurking around Jin Juan. When I give the order, she will definitely cooperate with us. By then, Jin Juan will never be able to recover and will be drained dry by us." But the kid didn't know that his own sister was eyeing Jin Juan. As soon as Jojo was mentioned, Jojo appeared. Rim Yurak stomped her feet and said loudly, "Jin Juan, I'm hungry. Make me the fried rice you made last time." Her demeanor was like someone demanding a debt, as she stormed into Jin Juan's house, shouting, "Jin Juan, where are you? Make me that fried rice from before." Mong Mong came out to greet her and said, "You're here. I thought it would be a long time before we could meet again after you left last time." The two sisters entered the house hand in hand and chatted. Mong Mong asked Yurak, "You don't really have feelings for my brother, do you? You followed him all the way here." Yurak, clearly flustered, replied, "What are you talking about? The people pursuing me line up from here to the royal palace. I don't have any interest in that guy." Jin Juan was cooking in the kitchen. Hearing his name being called out, he peeked his head out to eavesdrop. He thought to himself, "I wonder how a high society family could produce such a noisy Jirak. Wherever she goes, it's like a mobile loudspeaker." It was actually quite nice. Being alone at home was pretty dull, and it was a good chance to have some company. So, following the request of his creditor, Rim Jirak, Jin Juan showcased his skill in cooking fried rice, stirring it like he was roasting peanuts. Just then, a loud voice came from outside the door. "Open the door. I know you're home." The two sisters inside, hearing the call, looked at each other with curiosity. Mong Mong said with a sly smile, It must be some flirtatious creditor. Where did your brother get himself into trouble this time?" They ran to open the door, and as it slowly swung open, the shimmering golden hair revealed Go Jianiam visiting Jin Juan. Seeing the two girls open the door, she was slightly embarrassed and asked, "Isn't this Jin Juan's place? Who are you?" The two sisters, upon seeing her beauty, exclaimed, "Wow!" They were momentarily stunned, thinking, "Is that the famous actress Go Jianiam? What is she doing here?" After a while, the three sisters sat down at the table to talk. Rim Jirak thought to herself, "I didn't expect Jin Juan to know a star like Go Jianiam." Mong Mong, seizing the opportunity, smiled widely and asked, "Sister Jonium, could you sign an autograph for me? Thank you so much." Jeonyeom responded casually, "Of course, I'd be happy to." Jirak, however, wasn't as pleased. She thought, if Go Jeonyeom likes Jin Juan too, she's a strong rival. Standing before such a formidable opponent is quite overwhelming. At this moment, Jin Juan brought out a tray of food, excitedly announcing, "The food is here. Let's eat." The sumptuous meal Jin Juan prepared was eagerly enjoyed by everyone. Jirak, munching happily, said, "I told you I missed the fried rice so much." Go Jeonyeom commented, "I didn't expect your cooking skills to be so good. It's even better than a 5-star restaurant." Mom, eating with great enthusiasm, said, "It's delicious. As expected, Jin Juan is amazing." Jin Juan then asked Jeonyeom, "Why did you come all of a sudden?" Jeonyeom replied, "I was worried about you. You weren't clear on the phone, and I was afraid your financial situation might be in trouble while you were acting strong. So I came to check on you." That said, everyone knew the real reason why the beautiful actress was there. After the three sisters finished eating, they were very satisfied and content. The system notification popped up, showing the affection levels. Mong's affection increased by 2 points, now at 92. Jeonyeom's affection increased by 1 point, now at 94. Jirak's affection increased by 1 point, now at 97. The affection level for Simyu Rim Jirak suddenly hit 97 points. The participant is awarded 10 enhancement points. Jin Juan glanced at the system panel and thought to himself, it was definitely worth the meal. I've already gained enhancement points so quickly. It seems the fastest way to win a woman's heart is through her stomach. He then turned his attention back to the main topic. Rim Jirak slammed a financial report onto the table. Jin Juan and Go Jeonyeom looked at it with curiosity. Rim Jirak said excitedly, "Here's the good news I wanted to share with you." Jin Juan opened the report, looking puzzled. "Real estate Neji?" He forced a smile, thinking, is this an attempt to challenge Yuling Shuam? This name is quite confusing. Seeing Jin Juan's focused expression, Jeonyeom also became intrigued and looked at the document. Rim Jirak unrolled a map and continued, "The financial report is just part of my work. To help you understand, I brought a map." She began explaining, "The purple areas are the valuable zones we've acquired. I've already called 2 other places, and they're very willing to cooperate with our film and television city plan. The red area on the map is Cheonmun. The purple areas are what Jirak is referring to. They are 2 very valuable locations within these areas. Combined with the area purchased by Bichian, we now control over 1 million acres of land." She proudly patted her chest. "I haven't even spent all the 50 billion you gave me." Her gaze subtly observed Jin Juan's reactions. She thought, "Damn, I've mentioned this much, and he's so calm. He's hiding his emotions too well." Jin Juan listened to the presentation while yawning intermittently. He thought to himself, in the end, it's just spending money. What's the difference where it's spent? If it's needed, then it's fine. Jeonyeom's expression was the opposite of Jin Juan's. She showed her astonishment and exclaimed loudly, "Oh my God! The reputation of Bichian has been spreading far and wide recently, and it's all because of you, Jin Juan." She added, "Such a large piece of land can fully support the construction of a city for movies and television, while also breaking free from the encirclement of all forces, allowing the sky to be the limit for the birds." Go Jeonyeom thought the land was divided into 3 parts in 3 cities, and no one could monopolize it. There were corporations trying to encroach on it, but they fell into Jin Juan's trap, leaving them with nothing. She looked at Jin Juan, thinking, did he plan this scheme in advance? He's like a master strategist, leaving no trace. Truly frightening. Jeonyeom admired him more and more, finding his demeanor captivating. It's fortunate that he's on my side. Truly a reliable man, she thought. The system immediately notified that Go Jeonyeom's favorability increased by 1 point, making her current favorability score 95 points. Jin Juan checked the system, which confirmed the favorability score of target Simju number 9, Go Jeonyeom, has surpassed 95 points. Counterattack completed. Target Simju number 9, Go Jeonyeom, spent a total of 2 billion NDT 400 million. rewarding the user with the equivalent amount of 2 billion NDT 400 million. Gojanium has been converted into the user's simu, rewarding 30 enhancement points. Congratulations to the user for gaining acting proficiency. Jin Juan then looked at Gojanium, who was gazing at him intently. He was stunned and thought, the counterattack is complete. Could it be that I looked too handsome while reading the documents? Switching to the Kimyu building that evening, Jukji and Mengming were still working overtime. Aki spoke up. Mengming, can I ask you for a favor? Although Jin Juan told me he's fine, I'm still worried about him. Isn't he dealing with Bichen real estate? Can you help me investigate this company? Mengming replied, Bichen? I know it. Their chairman's name is Yuling Shuang or something. She's the secretary Jin Juan just hired. Aki said, if Bichen real estate has any issues, then Jin Juan must be in trouble. Mengming confidently said, no problem, leave it to me. My hacking skills are top-notch in the country. Tonight, I'll investigate Bichen and Yuling Shuang for you. Despite her appearance, Mengming is quite formidable, not just a pretty face. Aki was very happy to hear that. She jumped up to hug Mengming and said, thank you, Mengming. I know you're the best to me. Meanwhile, Jin Juan observed Jeonium, slyly thinking, the system rewarded me with acting proficiency. I wonder if this skill can help me woo girls. Without further ado, Jin Juan got into character, playing the role of a domineering CEO, and asked Jeonium, why do you keep looking at me? Seeing Jin Juan's demeanor, Jeonium was so surprised that she blushed. She couldn't quite believe it and thought, oh my god, what is happening? Jin Juan's gaze pierces right through my heart, seeing the most private parts of my soul. Is he always this charming, or am I hallucinating? The more I look at him, the more I feel like I'm going to fall for him. Jin Juan's smile gradually lost its humanity as he thought, this is easy. Looking at the financial report and map, he realized that the current difficulties had indeed been resolved, and he had unintentionally trapped those corporations. Could I really be destined for something great? He thought, chuckling to himself. Looking at Jeonium, he wondered, does she think I'd orchestrated everything, making her worship me and increasing her favorability towards me? Jin Juan's demeanor became even more pleased. Being straightforward, he didn't like explaining things, thinking, if they misunderstand, let them continue to misunderstand. Reflecting on all the women he had interacted with, they'd all seem to react the same way. Then I will handle all of this on my own. Rim Jirak spoke up. How's the grand plan of the young lady? In just a few days, you developed Neji better than some others, right? The scene shifted to a group of people eating and drinking, while Rimso Lingshuang was presenting a plan. Given the current situation, Mr. Yen's chances of a comeback are extremely slim. Unless, she said, pausing mysteriously. All four people's eyes focused on her as they asked, unless what? Lingshuang continued, unless he has hundreds of billions in capital to sweep everything clean. But I don't think Mr. Yen has that kind of money. Rimso sighed and smiled, saying, you scared me for a moment, Ms. Lingshuang. You're really funny. The old man spoke up, right? Liso, is Ms. Lingshuang your secretary? Liso responded, what's the matter, sir? Is there a problem? The old man said, nothing, it's just strange that she doesn't smell very pleasant. I heard that Liso's secretaries are all national beauties. Can the young lady take off her bandage so I can see her face clearly? Hearing his words, Ling Shuang was taken aback, her eyes pleading for help as she looked at her young master. Liso's expression turned uncomfortable as he thought, damn, this guy is really rude. But I need this cooperation, so I can't offend him. He said, Ling Shuang, if he insists, please take off the bandage for him to see. Feeling disappointed and anxious as her master didn't protect her, Lin Shuang asked sadly, young master, do you really want me to take off the bandage? Liso angrily shouted, if I tell you to take it off, take it off. Are you questioning my orders? Ling Shuang began to cry, her hands trembling as she slowly removed the bandage, revealing a long scar on her face from a previous accident. She could only suppress her emotions and endure it. Seeing the scar on her face, the atmosphere changed slightly. The old man lost interest, waving his hand dismissively. He said, I thought she was a great beauty, but she's just a monster like this. It's really ruining my appetite. Leave. Lin Shuang was extremely angry at his words, but had to hold it in. With a sullen face, she replied, if my presence ruins your appetite, then I will leave. Liso could only remain silent as she left, thinking, Yuling Shuang is now like this, she will never recover. Luckily, the task is completed. She has no value anymore. The old man wasn't satisfied yet. He loudly asked Qianhang, do you think she looks like a dog? The old man laughed heartily and replied, haha, you're really funny. Haha, she does look like one. The scene shifted to the mansion. Jin Juan and Rimji Rak were trying to influence Mong into becoming a city girl. Mong, it's still early. Why don't we go to a bar? Jin Juan suggested. Mong, being obedient, replied, I don't want to go, and I can't go. My brother says going to bars makes you a bad girl. It's almost 11 p.m. now. We should wash up and go to bed. Hearing this, Jirak was a bit speechless and impatiently said, you listen to your brother too much. Aren't you bored staying at home all day? Mong innocently replied, no, this place has good food and warm clothes. My brother is interesting. I love it here. At that moment, Yuling Xuan had just returned. Hearing the doorbell, the two of them turned their gaze to see Ling Xuan entering. Mong said, ah, Sister Ling Xuan, you're back. Noticing something strange, Mong asked, what's wrong? You don't look well. Ling Xuan replied sadly, oh, it's nothing. I'm fine. Though she said that, her expression couldn't hide the truth. Mong comforted her, Sister Ling Xuan, take it slow. I'll help you. Ling Xuan replied, thank you, Mong. I can manage. Rim Jirak, who had long disliked Ling Xuan, observed from the background and thought, hemph, a traitor like her pretending to be pitiful. One might think she's a wealthy heiress. Mong said, Sister Ling Xuan, my brother knows you're busy and might not have had time to eat, so he saved a portion for you. He even cooked it himself today. If he hadn't reminded us, we would have eaten it all. Lin Xuan was a bit surprised and asked, the boss saved food for me and reminded you. Mong innocently replied, yes, why? What's wrong, sister? Yuling Xuan said nothing but sat down to eat. As she ate, she thought, it turns out Jin Juan is the only one who treats me as a person, not just a tool. The more she thought, the more tears flowed. He's really too gentle, she thought. Seeing her cry, Mong said, oh, Sister Ling Xuan, why are you crying? If your wound gets wet, it will get infected. What's wrong? Who bullied you? I'll ask my brother to teach them a lesson. Lin Xuan replied, oh, it's nothing, Mong. I just remembered some sad things. Yuling Xuan's favorability increased by 10 points. Ling Xuan asked, Mong, where is your brother? I want to see him. Yuling Xuan's favorability increased by 10 points, making the current favorability 55 points. After hearing Ling Xuan's question, Mong replied, ah, my brother? Jin Juan went to sleep a long time ago. Hearing this made Ling Xuan a bit curious. She responded, why did he go to sleep early today? Normally, night owl Jin Juan stays up all night and sleeps during the day. Mong pointed to Jin Juan's room and whispered, he said he's been worried about many things recently and wants to be alone. He asked Jirak and me to keep quiet so as not to disturb his early sleep, but that Jin Juan, he's just lying. He's in his room playing games and drinking coca. Who else has it as good as him? He's the real king. Yuling Xuan, understanding the recent developments, pondered, yes, recently the major financial conglomerates have all been attacking him. Liso, Rimso, and Hongsan have joined forces. Jin Juan must be feeling desperate. The more she thought about it, the more she felt resentful towards herself. Despite his hardships, he still cooked and saved food for her. I, Yuling Xuan, am worse than a beast. How can I be worthy of Jin Juan? The system announced, Yuling Xuan's favorability increased by 10 points, making the favorability 65 points. The scene shifted to the next morning at Chuki's mansion. Meng spoke loudly. Aki, I found information about Yuling Xuan. I've been checking all night, and finally discovered that Yuling definitely has issues. Hearing this, Aki paid close attention. Meng said, previously, in Yuling records, she studied at a university in Shanghai. After graduating at the age of 57, she went to Cambridge University to complete her master's degree in finance. Then she went to Wall Street as an intern. At the age of 20, she managed billion-dollar investment funds, and at 22, she joined a superstar corporation as the chief secretary. Aki, hearing this, remembered something and said, "This superstar corporation sounds familiar, but I can't recall where from." Despite staying up all night, Meng's eyes were like those of a panda, but she was still more alert than Aki. She said, "This super-rich corporation belongs to a family in Shanghai. This family is a giant in the film and television industry. They even have their own film and television city." Meng pieced together the information. Jin Juan wants to build a film and television city. He and they are competitors, and Yuling is their chief secretary. The two of them exchanged looks, sharing the same thought. Yuling is a commercial spy planted by them with Jin Juan. Aki quickly dialed the phone, calling her troublesome boyfriend, saying, "No wonder Jin Juan's business has been facing difficulties recently. The land purchase hasn't been smooth. I need to tell him about this." But all she got was the operator's voice. Aki was confused. Why is the phone off at such a critical moment? She said, "I have to go to his house and tell him directly, but I don't know his address." So she called her friends to ask. Bingseol responded, "Jin Juan's new address? I don't know, Aki. What's going on?" Upon hearing the whole story from Aki, Bingseol became just as anxious. "What? There's a corporate spy around him. Wait, I'll go with you." Aki then called Yaku, after hearing everything, also hurriedly and angrily said, "I don't have Jin Juan's address either." "What? There's a spy around him. Is Bingseol also there? Wait for me, I'll come right away." Soon, the friends gathered, their eyes filled with determination, ready to plan and execute the rescue of Jin Juan. Their mission had officially begun. Back at Jin Juan's villa, he stretched and yawned lazily, feeling refreshed from a good night's sleep. Suddenly, his sensitive nose caught a whiff of something pleasant. Following the scent, he found himself heading towards the kitchen. Jin Juan thought, "Wow, Yuling is up early making breakfast. Did she take the wrong medicine?" He greeted cheerfully, "Good morning, Secretary Ling Shuang." Ling Shuang, hearing Jin Juan's voice, turned around happily and replied, "Good morning, boss. I'm making some breakfast. Please try it." Jin Juan found her behavior a bit odd since it was usually him who had to get up early to prepare food for everyone. But today, it seemed like the world had turned upside down with Ling Shuang taking the initiative to cook. Nonetheless, he responded warmly, "Sure." They both sat down at the table to enjoy the meal. Ling Shuang looked at him and thought, from a psychological perspective, Jin Juan truly doesn't care about my ruined appearance. Jin Juan and Liso are like two completely opposite extremes with vastly different attitudes. Could Jin Juan really be different from other men? Jin Juan noticed her looking at him, and he looked back, thinking, as a girl whose looks have been ruined, Ling Shuang must be very depressed. He glanced at his system panel, where he had added some medical knowledge and started preparing ointment. If the system doesn't deceive me, her looks should return to their peak soon, he thought, feeling more and more pleased. With a sly and satisfied smile, he imagined that Ling Shuang would be completely devoted to him once her appearance was restored. Suddenly, Yuling asked, "Boss, what if one day I did something to betray you?" Jin Juan, hearing her question, casually replied, "It depends on what it is. If it's about money, even if you lose a lot or fail in business, I will forgive you because I really hate money." Despite his words, Ling Shuang couldn't feel happy. Her face turned serious as she thought, if he knew I was a spy planted by others and helped major corporations trap him, driving him to desperation, could he really forgive me? Why do I feel no joy from my success? Instead, my heart feels incredibly heavy. Suddenly, Mong spoke up. "The flowers smell so good. Have you both finished breakfast? Did you prepare something for me too?" Mong, along with Jirak and Jonium, came in. Ling Shuang stood up cheerfully and replied, "Of course, I prepared breakfast for everyone. Mong Mong smiled brightly and said, "No, Sister Ling Shuang, sit down. You're still not well. Let me do it." Jirak chimed in. "Mong Mong, can you get me a plate too? Love you." So everyone started having breakfast together. Suddenly, there was a sound of the doorbell from outside. The feeling of being interrupted just when you're about to eat can be really annoying. All 5 people turned their attention to the door. Jirak grumbled, "Who is it? Ringing the doorbell so early in the morning and ringing it like they've never rung a bell before. It's so loud." Mong Mong suggested, "Maybe it's Sister Soyakyu. She called me early this morning, asking for my brother's new address." Ling Xuan looked a bit puzzled and asked, "Are they coming here?" Mong Mong replied happily, "Yes, some of the other sisters asked her to find out. They seem to be in a hurry, saying something about a corporate spy in my brother's company. They wanted to inform him, but his phone was off." Hearing this, Yuling Xuan felt a pang of unease. Mong Mong, meanwhile, quickly wiped her mouth and ran to open the door. It seemed like Yuling Xuan was going to face multiple opponents. One might wonder if the sisters were going to rush in, pulling hair and tearing clothes in a combat. When Mong Mong opened the door, she was a bit shocked to see so many people. She didn't expect Sister Soyakyu to bring so many friends, but all of them were very beautiful. However, the faces of the sisters were filled with anger. Mong Mong invited everyone inside, but the naive younger sister felt the atmosphere was a bit tense. Mong Mong curiously asked, "Sister Yakyu, who are these ladies?" She thought to herself, "With such fierce-looking women, does my brother normally associate with these beautiful sisters? Isn't that stressful?" Yakyu, looking angry, replied, "The situation is urgent. No time to explain to you, Mong Mong. Is your brother and Yuling Xuan both here?" Mong Mong sensed that the atmosphere was tense and responded cautiously, "The 2 of them are having breakfast in the dining room. I tried to guide you, but this house is so big, I got lost despite using the GPS." After a while, the group of sisters appeared like a squad of assassins, suddenly appearing behind Yuling Xuan. Ling Xuang felt that her end was near. She was anxious and extremely pressured by the fierce presence of the sisters. Their cold, sharp gazes were fixed on her, with their hands clenched as if ready to jump in and start a fight, ripping clothes and causing chaos. However, that's just a dramatic exaggeration. According to the author, such scenes don't actually occur. Meng Meng, looking at Jin Juan who was calmly eating, grew impatient. She slammed the documents on the table and angrily said, "Jin Juan, stop eating. Do you know that this woman is a spy sent by someone else? Here's her information. Read it yourself." Jin Juan remained calm. As he read the documents, he was surprised to learn that she was a top student with a Cambridge master's degree, interned in Gold Street, managed billions in investment funds, and completed more than 10 mergers and acquisitions while working at the Superstar Group. A stellar talent, huh? Jin Juan thought. He looked at Yuling Xuan with some admiration. At just 20 years old, her resume is impressive. She must be a top-level expert sent to deal with young talents. Although Jin Juan knew she was a spy, he was amazed by her exceptional abilities. Meng Meng, with her hands on her hips, said, "Look carefully. This woman is a spy. You trusted her enough to manage the Bichin real estate for you. She not only spent tens of billions of your money, but also lured you into the traps of major corporations. Jin Juan, wake up." Mong Mong, now realizing the gravity of the situation, asked Ling Xuang, "Sister Ling Xuang, is it true that you're a spy? I thought you were kind and intelligent. Is everything just an act?" Rim Yirak, standing to the side, thought with a hint of irritation, "Do these foolish women really think Jin Juan is as dumb as they are? He's known all along, it's just a strategy on his part." Despite her irritation, Rim Yirak felt a bit pleased and smug, thinking, "The first person Jin Juan told about this was me. Doesn't this mean I'm the one he trusts the most?" Haha. On Gojunium's side, as she read the documents, she thought, if Yuling Xuang is a spy, then Jin Juan must have seen through everything long ago. The real estate of Neji, managed by Jirak, is likely Jin Juan's undercover move. Yuling Xuang probably doesn't even realize she's being used by Jin Juan. Her identity as a spy has been exposed, and her schemes are truly terrifying. All eyes were on Yuling Xuan for an answer. She spoke up. Yes, they're right. From the beginning, I approached the boss with an ulterior motive. Now I have nothing more to say. The focus then shifted to Jin Juan, as the final decision was up to him. Jin Juan stood up abruptly and walked over to Yuling Xuan, placing his hand on her shoulder. Secretary Ling Xuang, let's go to the park. I need to speak with you privately. Everyone watched as the two left together. Mong, deeply saddened, started crying. She sobbed loudly. I really didn't expect that Sister Ling Xuang would be a spy. She used to ask me many things about my brother. Did I end up harming my brother? Rim Jirak went over to comfort her friend. All right, Mong, don't cry anymore. Jin Juan has known she's a spy for a long time. A cunning fox like Jin Juan couldn't have been outwitted by someone else. Wipe your tears. Upon hearing this, the group was in disbelief. They exclaimed loudly, What? He knew about Ling Xuang being a spy all along. The sisters were astonished when they learned that Jin Juan had known about Ling Xuang being a spy for a long time. Soyaku asked Jirak in confusion. Then why did he assign such an important project to her? Rim Hirak, with a hint of defiance, replied, Why should I explain to you? You think these women might have their eyes on Jin Juan too. It's really annoying. Losing a beauty like Go Janium was already too much. Now there are even more serious competitors. Thus, the two sisters faced off against each other, neither willing to back down. Rimjirak thought, all the men here are gone. Why do the sisters have to compete with me for Jin Juan? The two seemed to understand each other's thoughts and began a dramatic confrontation, tugging at each other's hair and clothes. Go Janium spoke up, let me explain. At her words, the entire group fell silent and turned their attention to Go Janium. She continued, currently, the land purchased by Bichian and Neji has been interconnected in this way. After a few minutes of explanation, everyone understood the situation. Yakyu, with a look of surprise, said, I get it now. It turns out Neji isn't from the Rim family, but from Jin Juan. I guessed correctly. Jin Juan is really setting up an elaborate scheme, executing and planning with a higher perspective. It's not an exaggeration to call him a genius. His strategic planning is miles ahead. Thinking about Jin Juan's familiar face, it makes me shiver. This man is indeed deeply hidden. The expressions of the group were all equally astonished, sharing the same thought that Jin Juan's strategic mind surpassed even that of a supercomputer. Suddenly, Meng tugged at Aki's sleeve, looking worried. Aki, I think my good intentions might have backfired. Now that the woman's true identity is exposed, won't the people behind her find out quickly? Didn't we disturb the hornet's nest? Aki reassured her, it's all right. If Jin Juan is meeting with Yuling Xuan, it means he already has a solution. He never suffers losses, so don't blame yourself. Hearing this, Meng sighed in relief. I scared myself. Aki pondered, the more she interacted with him, the more she felt Jin Juan was hard to grasp. She had always thought he was dealing with wild ideas, yet he ends up being the ultimate victor. Are we just pawns in his game? The more she thought, the more anxious and uneasy she became. Meanwhile, on Jin Juan and Yuling Xuang's side, Yuling Xuang apologized. I approached you only to be an undercover agent to sabotage the development plans of the film and television city. I had no other choice due to my mission. I hope you understand. Jin Juan, with a cunning expression, replied, I've known all of this from the beginning. Hearing this, Yuling Xuang was stunned and responded, You knew everything. Jin Juan, exuding confidence, replied, Yes, I knew from the beginning that you were deliberately approaching me. I also know who sent you here. But those things are not important to me. Jin Juan's sharp gaze met hers. Do you remember what I told you? He placed his hand on Yuling Xuang's cheek and leaned in slightly, speaking gently. If it's just about business and money, I can forgive you unconditionally. A gentleman's word is his bond. This is my promise to you. Yuling Xuang, with their close proximity, found herself unable to look away from Jin Juan. Her emotions surged, causing her face to flush slightly. She stammered in response. At that moment, the system notified her. Yuling Xuang's favorability rating increased by 20 points, now at 85 points. Yet, She turned away from Jin Juan's gaze, unable to fully accept it. She responded, "But I feel." Jin Juan, with a mischievous, charming smile, interrupted, "It's not what you feel, it's what I feel. From today, you are mine. I greatly appreciate your talent and abilities. I invite you to join my team. It doesn't matter whom you've worked with before. Everything else is irrelevant." Despite Jin Juan's persuasive words, Yuling Shuang still struggled to accept that he had forgiven her and wanted her to work for him. She protested, "But boss." Jin Juan placed both hands on her shoulders with determination, cutting her off. "Don't say any more. You are my secretary. With you, I gain the world." After hearing Jin Juan's words, Yuling Shuang was taken aback, staring at him as he walked away. Jin Juan added, "Keep up the good work." Yuling Shuang, trembling, thought, "He's letting me go just like that? He didn't even dismiss me?" At that moment, she received a notification on her account with the last digits, 7.687, stating she had received 30 billion RMB. Clicking to view the details, she saw a message from Jin Juan. "This is your task for next week. Don't let me down." Looking at the money, Yuling Shuang was extremely shocked. She exclaimed, "This is 30 billion RMB. Trembling and overwhelmed by the unexpected gift, she collapsed to the ground, crying, "Why is he treating me so well? I don't deserve this." At this moment, the system notified. Yuling Shuang's favorability increased by 10 points, bringing the current favorability to 93 points. Jin Juan, with a cunning smile, thought to himself, "After spending 50 billion, even using my acting skills to change into someone else, she would have long been completely swayed. Yet, it's only at 93 points now. Her heart is so hard. But then again, it's fortunate that I added points to my medical skills. If she isn't swayed by money, then what about beauty? Isn't she going to be moved by that? Let's see how I can torment her once the counterattack is complete." Imagining the scene in his mind, Jin Juan felt a sense of satisfaction and thought about punishing Yuling Shuang as a reward for her disobedience. At that moment, Jin Juan received a message from Yuling Shuang. "Sorry, boss. I have let you down. But I really cannot betray the family that has raised me for decades. I hope you won't hold it against me." Jin Juan read it without any anger. On the contrary, he was a bit surprised and thought, "Opening up to me. What does it mean to speak from the heart? Words that can be said are considered words from the heart." His deceitful smile reappeared. It seemed Yuling Shuang was genuinely wavering, only lacking a convincing reason to persuade herself. Jin Juan replied with the following message. "Stop with the excuses. I don't care who you work for. Just make sure to complete the task." Yuling Shuang read it and felt as if the wind had blown through her ears. She genuinely couldn't understand and replied with a question mark. Jin Juan messaged back, "You're too stubborn. I just want you to join my team and help me spend money. I'm not asking you to betray them. You can use my money to help them." Yuling Shuang was even more confused. She thought, "What is he trying to achieve with this?" She added a question mark and messaged back, "Why do you have so much confidence that I will follow your arrangement?" Despite her firm reply, her heart was still very much in turmoil. She pondered, could he really want me to be a spy and help him investigate the truth? But now, the situation has changed, and I have no way to assist Jin Juan anymore. At that moment, back at Jin Juan's place, he had returned inside the house. As soon as he opened the door, Jin Juan was astonished by the scene inside. His muses were all displaying an incredibly enamored look. Each one of them gazed at him with sparkling eyes, unable to look away, as if to say, "Oh, my husband is so amazing." Jin Juan couldn't be happy about it. He felt a bit scared and wondered, what's going on? Why is everyone staring at me like this? This is exhausting. He looked at Meng Meng and the others, feeling confused. Even Meng Meng is looking at me like this? We're not even close. Meng Meng's favorability increased by 1. Checking the favorability of the target, Meng Meng's favorability had surpassed 95 points. Congratulations, the counterattack was successful. Jin Juan looked at the system with some unease. Why is the counterattack happening now? I can't even remember when I set this up. Isn't she supposed to be Juki's friend? Notification. Meng, the CEO. Total NDT 333 million. Simu reward. NDT 3,330 and 25 enhancement points. Congratulations, you have received the hacking skill, becoming a senior hacker. After Meng's counterattack was completed, Jin Juan received the hacking skill from the system, which surprised him. The numbers on his screen were running horizontally and vertically in green. He thought, so this is the advanced hacking skill. Suddenly, Jin Juan felt something unusual. He wasn't sure if it was an illusion, but he felt slightly drowsy. After activating this skill, the new system notification appeared. Reminder: due to acquiring too many skills and knowledge, the storage in your brain is becoming too complex. The mental capacity is insufficient and causing significant stress. You should enhance your mental attributes to alleviate the strain. Jin Juan, in a panic, exclaimed, "So many skills. No wonder I've been feeling sleepy lately. I thought I was under some spell. Turns out it's just my mind needing enhancement." Thinking about it, Jin Juan realized it made sense. I've acquired skills that usually take a lifetime for someone to master in an instant. It's indeed a heavy burden on the brain. Jin Juan glanced back at Meng, thinking to himself with a sly smile, I thought she was just an ordinary gold digger, but she actually has such advanced skills. This time, it's truly a bargain. Meng, noticing Jin Juan's attention, was overjoyed and let out a happy moan. Jin Juan then ordered, "System, enhance my mental attributes by 50 points." Suddenly, Jin Juan's body underwent an upgrade. This upgrade felt unusual. His pupils turned blue, and he looked at Meng with a dangerously intense expression. Seeing Jin Juan's unusual gaze made Meng feel uneasy. He observed her from head to toe, with continuous information displays about Meng. Height: 165 centimeters. Clothing brand: Blue Moon. Mood: anxious and uneasy. Perfume: Dior Blue. Weight: 49 kilograms. Unfortunately, the system couldn't see through her clothes. You know what I mean. Jin Juan was amazed, thinking, damn, it feels like I have a supercomputer in my head. Is this what the world of geniuses is like? Meng, feeling a bit guilty, said, Jin Juan, I'm sorry, I didn't know your plan. Did I mess things up? Jin Juan cheerfully replied, it's okay. Revealing Secretary Ling Xuan is fine. Anyway, the truth would have come out sooner or later. It doesn't matter whether it's early or late. He instructed everyone. However, I hope that when she arrives later, you all won't make things difficult for her. Just go with the flow and pretend nothing happened. Meng was somewhat bewildered. The group was divided into two factions upon hearing this. One faction, including Aki, Bing Seal, and Mong, was curious and accepting of the idea. The other faction, including Jonium, Yaku, and Jirak, was very dissatisfied, questioning the idea of pretending nothing had happened. Meng wondered, could it be that Jin Juan has already tamed Yuling Xuan? Is he planning to have Yuling Xuan act as his double agent? How cunning! But this is exactly the ideal boyfriend in my mind. Swapping roles, keeping secrets from the outside world, and using others to achieve his goals. Is this the real God in my heart? Outside the door, as Yuling Xuan gently opened it, she overheard Jin Juan's instructions that surprised her a bit. Jin Juan was earnestly advising the ladies inside. Later, don't make things difficult for her. After all, she's my close secretary, an important subordinate. Ling Xuang felt a surge of emotion and was touched. She thought, is he genuinely protecting me? Were his words earlier sincere? Her eyes grew resolute. She believed that he was someone worth following for a lifetime. A noble, brilliant, and broad-minded man. A while later, outside the villa, Jin Juan was seeing Ling Xuang off as she prepared to leave with her belongings. Ling Xuang said, Boss, you can stop here. I'll call a cab myself. Jin Juan, hearing this, was silent for a moment, then sighed with emotion. He said, Actually, Secretary Ling Xuang, it's fine if you stay. Ling Xuang responded sadly, Once a rift occurs, there will be separation. Even if you don't mind, I am still a spy. If I stay, it will only make others dislike me. Mong Mong and Jirak were eavesdropping nearby. Mong Mong said, "Has Sister Ling Xuang really been brainwashed by my brother? Why does she seem so desolate? Could she be thinking about going back to her family? They'd failed their plan with my brother. If she goes back, she will be punished, right?" Jirak replied, "You've reminded me. Ling Xuan might not even know Jin Juan's plan. When we were discussing it, she was called away. When her family realizes their scheme has failed, regardless of whether she betrays them or not, they will blame her. By then, she'll really be in a bad situation." The two of them seemed to have a mental connection, looking at each other in shock and confusion, unable to unravel the deep scheme. Suddenly, Jirak received a call from Rimso. Jirak said, "Is that my brother? Why is he calling me all of a sudden?" On the other end, Rimso asked, "Raykrak, where are you?" Jirak excitedly replied, "I'm at Jin Juan's house. I saw the drama earlier. You don't know about it." Rimso, hearing Jin Juan's name, thought with a blank expression, "Raykrak doesn't know about my deal with Liso and is not cautious about Jin Juan. If she stays with Jin Juan, it won't be long before I'm in trouble." Rimso shouted, "Stop talking. It's not good for you to stay with Jin Juan all day. You need to come home. You have to register for university in half a month. Hurry back." Jirak, holding the phone tightly, thought angrily, "Does he still see me as a clueless child? Wait until I finish my work. I'll give you all a big surprise and show you that Rim Yirak is also a business prodigy." Jokji asked Yaku, "Do you know those two kids?" Yaku, a bit displeased, replied, "Oh, those two? The one on the left is Jin Juan's half-sister, Wang Mom, and on the right, isn't she the second Miss Rim Yirak?" At that moment, Jirak was shouting angrily, while Mong said, "All right, calm down." Aki was a bit surprised and responded, "Miss Rim, the richest heiress in Hanseong." She was also secretly irritated, thinking, "Jin Juan, you've added another one to your collection in just a few days. You really never seem to be idle." Suddenly, she spoke up, "You must be Mong and Jirak, right?" She, along with Bing Seol and Meng, approached to greet them. "Let me introduce myself. I'm Juk Ji, Vice President of the Association, a student at Jin Juan's University, and the CEO of Daemao TV." She offered her WeChat code and suggested exchanging contact information, as everyone was Jin Juan's friend. After seeing off Yuling Shuang, Jin Juan returned inside the house, but was surprised to find the atmosphere had suddenly changed drastically. He wondered, what's going on? Why is it so lively all of a sudden? Before him, the ladies were mingling happily, chatting and laughing. Bing Seol was making friends with Mong, Yakyu and Zhao Nium were exchanging WeChat details, and Aki was scanning QR codes to connect with Jirak. Jin Juan was very puzzled, thinking, when did their relationships become so good? Jokki brought out her phone and said, "I've added you to the group. From now on, we're good friends." She had officially welcomed them into the group, though Jin Juan felt a bit uneasy. Girls really like creating groups. I just don't know how many small groups they have. Scene transition to the presidential suite, room 3608 at the hotel. Liso was being meticulously served during a meal. He said, "Ling Xuan, welcome back. Yesterday's events weren't aimed at you. You know Hongsen and Yeonjum have invested heavily in us. I really can't afford to offend those two." He added with a hint of grievance, "I know yesterday must have made you feel humiliated. I've contacted Korea's top plastic surgeon. Once your mission is over, you'll soon be able to restore your previous beauty." Yuling Shuang bowed slightly and responded, "Thank you, young master. I understand these things." Liso, with a slightly impatient expression, asked, "So, do you have something you want to discuss now?" Ling Shuang replied, "My identity as a spy has been exposed." Upon hearing this, Liso was shocked and asked, "Your identity has been exposed? Did Jin Juan make things difficult for you?" Ling Shuang replied, "He didn't make things difficult for me. In fact, he even invited me to continue working for him. But I declined." She thought to herself, "For now, I shouldn't tell the young master about the 30 billion yuan Jin Juan gave me. Otherwise, he will definitely think I betrayed him and might cause trouble. Liso, with a serious expression, asked, "Did he have any reaction when you left?" Lin Shuang answered, "He didn't show any reaction. He was very calm." Liso continued, "There was no emotional fluctuation, such as anger or disappointment." She replied, "No, he managed his emotions very well." Lin Shuang then said, "But it seems that from the beginning, he already knew about my identity as a spy." Liso was unable to sit still anymore. He quickly got up and asked, "Does he know who holds the shares of Bichin?" Lin Shuang replied, "The shares are in the hands of his sister, Wang Mongmong. Jin Juan didn't put them in his name to avoid suspicion, so I had to use Wang Mongmong's name." At this moment, Liso's face turned purple with anger. He thought, "Oh no, I've fallen into a trap." He shouted, "Get me the map of Hubei province and call the boss, Rimso, immediately." A young woman quickly brought the map to him. Liso urgently grabbed his phone and dialed Rimso. He asked hurriedly, "Recently, there's a company named Neji that's also buying land, right?" The woman replied, "Yes, that's correct. It is said that your investment is very hidden. We only recently observed it." On the other end of the line, Rimso received a call from Liso. Rimso thought, "Why is Liso calling so early?" He happily answered, "What's up, Liso? I was about to call you to invite you to Hanseong Specialties." On the other end, Liso was furious and berated Rimso, "You're colluding with Jin Juan to plot against me. Who gave you the courage, you double-faced scoundrel?" Rimso, completely baffled and feeling wronged, asked, "What are you talking about? What plot against you? Explain clearly." Liso yelled, "Are you still pretending not to know? I'm asking you, is Neiji's real estate part of your family's assets? Didn't you just say that?" He slammed his hand on the table. The two land acquisition companies, Neji and Bichin, happen to be connected. Jin Juan is thriving now, and you still say it's not you? Upon hearing this, Rimso's face turned pale with shock. He thought, Neji real estate, so it's right here. Feeling wronged by the reprimand, Rimso managed a strained smile and responded to Liso, "I'll definitely look into this. Neji is not actually part of my family's assets." Liso threatened him, "If you don't have an answer within half a day that satisfies me, you know what the consequences will be." Rimso replied cautiously, "Understood. I'll get on it right away." However, once he hung up, Rimso's attitude changed. He furiously smashed his phone, cursing, "Damn it, Liso. Who does he think he is, yelling at me like that? Just because we're cooperating doesn't mean he can treat me like a child. Does he really think I'm scared of him?" Despite his anger, Rimso knew that the current collaboration involved over 10 billion. Any mistakes would be hard to explain to his family. He instructed his housekeeper to investigate Neiji's real estate. Liso's anger suggested that the company had issues. The housekeeper responded, "Yes, young master," and about 2 hours later, Rimso received a complete report on Neiji's real estate. Rimso felt even more enraged upon reading the report. The real estate was actually owned by his younger sister, a girl under 20. What confused him further was the astonishing amount of capital, 50 billion yuan. Where did she get that much money? The housekeeper added, "Young master, look here. The land Neji and Bichian bought happens to connect with Jin Juan's land, which has been completely revitalized." Rimso's expression turned uneasy. The housekeeper continued, "We thought we had suppressed Jin Juan, but it turns out we've stepped right into one of his traps. The land we bought is 3 times the price of Jin Juan's land. Such a large amount is equivalent to being trapped here. For our family, this is a fatal blow." Suddenly, Rimso realized Bichin and Neji, Jin Juan had already prepared a trap. That girl, Rimjirak, must have been brainwashed by him. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Last time, she said she wanted to show me something big. This is her big thing. It's as if she's personally stabbing her own brother to destroy us. With that, he grabbed the housekeeper's phone and made a call. On Rimjirak's side, she was wearing a sleek swimsuit, preparing to swim in the pool. She asked, "What's wrong?" Rimso, furious, interrogated her, "Did you do Neji?" Hearing this, Rimjirak responded with a knave smile, Haha, you finally figured it out. Do you see now how talented Rakerak is? You used to underestimate me, but from now on, you should address me as boss. He roared angrily. What's wrong with you? Who told you to use our family's resources to buy land for Jin Juan? Are you out of your mind? Do you know how serious this is? Get back here immediately. After being scolded for a while, she hung up the phone, seeming unconcerned, saying, I'm not coming back. Jin Juan has finally seen my talent. He's far better than you. Upon realizing that she hung up, Rimso was perplexed. She hung up on me. He then smashed his phone in fury, shouting, How dare she? Who gave her the courage to hang up on me? He then wondered if there was something wrong with his phone. Wasn't this phone from the housekeeper? He held his head and said, Get me another phone. I refuse to believe I can't handle this girl. The housekeeper replied, Young master, at this point, calling the young lady back won't help. The situation with Jin Juan has escalated. We should think about how to salvage it. Rimso, confused, asked, Salvage the losses? What do you mean? The housekeeper added, It seems Jin Juan's scheming and strength have surpassed Liso's. If we switch to Jin Juan's side, he might be lenient towards the young lady, but if you choose to stand with Jin Juan, you'd have to abandon Miss Yakyu. It seems she and Jin Juan are in a relationship. Rimso, noting this, shook his head and said, No more discussion. I won't abandon Yakyu. Besides, I am Rimso, not some small-time villain who breaks promises. If I did that, I'd be at the mercy of that girl, Jirak, for the rest of my life. Seeing his determination, the housekeeper did not insist further. All right, young master, I'll take my leave. As the housekeeper left, he thought to himself that the young master was still too inexperienced. This wasn't just a financial loss. Regardless of how the Neji situation was explained, the debt would fall on their family. Not only would they not join Jin Juan, but they would also offend the other three major families. The future of their family looked grim. Back in the presidential suite 2.608, Liso had summoned all his subordinates to investigate the traitor. One of them spoke up. Young master, we've investigated. The owner of Neji is Miss Rim Yurak. She has a close relationship with Jin Juan and has quickly developed a model similar to Bichin's. Liso was increasingly troubled. He ordered, All right, stop talking. I need to think. He glanced at his subordinates, deep in thought. Lin Shuang, on one side, was worried, thinking about the consequences. As Jin Juan's secretary, she hadn't been aware of the situation, which had escalated so severely. Lin Shuang spoke up, I'm sorry, young master. It's my fault. I really didn't expect this. Hearing her apology, Liso smiled helplessly. An apology? Haha, he said, no longer able to maintain his calm demeanor. Angrily, he scolded, You call this a mistake? A loss of over 10 billion yuan and you think saying sorry will make it okay? In a fit of rage, he grabbed an ashtray from the table and threw it at her. Do you know how much 10 billion is? Who gave you the courage to do this? He belittled her further. Ling Shuang, I trusted you and gave you the opportunity to rise. Now you don't even know your place. Do you think you're worth 10 billion? Remember who you are. You're just a dog I raised. I gave you the chance to be a human and you failed to seize it. Do you really think you're some kind of talent? Everything you have was given to you by us. Ling Shuang bowed her head and the previous wound reopened, bleeding from the impact of the ashtray. At this point, she had nothing left to say. Liso ordered the bodyguards to take her out. From now on, I'm suspending all your powers within the corporation. You must accept an investigation. Liso then sat down, feeling somewhat relieved. He added, Until your suspicions are cleared, you're not allowed to go anywhere. Suddenly, a girl spoke up, Liso, Ling Shuang would never betray you. We grew up here, and this is our home. Liso continued, Betrayal or not is irrelevant. With something like this happening, I must provide an explanation to the company. At this moment, Yuling Shuang realized, understanding what this meant. Was he trying to make her take the fall for this?